If we're not at a Disney park, we're dreaming about being there, and a cup of Joffrey's Coffee Disney Blend helps. But what about when you're at a Disney park? The Joffrey's Disney Kiosk and Restaurant Locator will make sure you never miss out. Whether it's a cool drink on a hot summer vacation or a great cup of coffee at a Disney signature restaurant, Joffrey's has you covered. Check it out at Joffreys.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final boarding call, and the doors will be closing soon.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott.
I'm Bob Collar.
This is ResortLoop.com. Holidaython is over, and Bob, we're here for a very special show.
Hallelujah. This is we tend to just squeeze in the DVC Roundtable toward the end of the month, but we got some breaking news that just came out this week, and we have invited the Roundtable to what do they call that when you gather the team together? We brought the
situation room.
We brought into the war room, the situation room,
right?
And so go ahead and introduce everybody, Tim.
Joining us, we have Emily Hansa Hicks.
Hello there.
Joe Quattrochi.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And we have Mr. Brad Coates.
Hi everybody.
And unfortunately, Rebecca couldn't join us tonight. She's on her way down to Disney.
Right.
That's another reason
when
we
you guys
decided
listen to this.
Yes.
Most of these folks are going to be down there as well with her.
That's another reason we were going to do it later in the week. And Joe, you reminded us that you're going to be on your way to Marathon, so we thought we got to get in even extra early now.
Yep, I got a 6 a.m. flight. Brad's got a flight tonight, so
yes.
We're all going to be
Actually, I have to drive to my airport, so I fly out in the morning.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
You know, you people. That's all I have to say about this.
Well, Emily, me, you, and Tim should get together, Emily, and just, go to a bar and think of them running and sweating and getting tired.
There you go.
Exactly. Boy, were they stupid.
You guys need to take pictures of yourself in, like, Japan with the frozen beer and telling us to,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have a great run this weekend and stay safe. And Emily, why don't you tell us what this crazy breaking news is from DVC?
You've got it. Your lead correspondent, Emily Hansa Hicks, is going to read an article to you, essentially. No, I'll abridge it, I promise. And I'm pretty sure the reason I get the honor of this is my Polish background is going to help me say this last name. The DVC is introducing location-based real estate resale restrictions, and this article originally was posted to DVCnews.com on January 6th, and it was written by Tim Krasniewski. And Tim, I apologize if I said your last name wrong, but there you go. Okay, so DVC has confirmed plans to restrict future resale buyers from accessing certain resorts within the program. And for all of you DVCers out there, as a side note, we, as DVC members, we all have our own sort of condominium association that's essentially, or a homeowners association. I think it is a condo association that is linked to your specific home resort. And they trade into sort of an overall trading group. And I believe it's called the Buena Vista Trading Company. And I searched high and low for my original terms and conditions, but I cannot find them. I found all these glossy brochures, but I can't find my contract. I don't know why. But I'll tell you, effective January 19th, new resale purchases from the current 14 DVC properties will only be able to be used at those 14 resorts. That means that they will not be eligible for reservations at the Riviera Resort or Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge, or any future DVC property. And the official DVC member .com statement, which I'm not actually sure that is owned by DVC. But anyway, the statement says, effective January 19th, 2019, only members who purchase directly from Disney will be able to use their vacation points at the existing 14 Disney Vacation Club resorts or future resorts, such as Disney's Riviera Resort or Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge. Resale contracts purchased for the existing 14 Disney Vacation Club resorts will only be able to exchange points into those 14 resorts. The change does not apply to contracts purchased prior to January 19th, 2019. Contracts gifted to family members will continue to have the same resort access as before the ownership transfer. Importantly, the eligibility rules for membership extras and RCI remain unchanged, and the Buena Vista Trading Company disclosure guide has been amended accordingly. Additionally, according to DVC resale market, the contracts for Riviera and all other forthcoming resorts will be limited to using points only at their home resorts. So that is pretty key there. Those people buying Riviera or Reflection resale will not be able to use those points for beach club, boardwalk, etc. The future of the Riviera resales was not specifically addressed in the DVC statement. So that's that information is from DVC resale market. So we don't have sort of an official edict from that. The restrictions go into effect on January 19th. If you have a resale contract that was submitted for right of first refusal, otherwise known as waivers, before this date, it's grandfathered in. So let's see, today is the 8th. So you can submit a contract for right of first refusal for I'm not sure what day this is going to air, but basically you have a couple of days, so hurry up. Resale points are already ineligible for use on the Disney Collection, the hotels at Disneyland, and Disney's international theme parks, the cruise line, and Adventure by Disney. All resale buyers would still be able to trade points through RCI.
Okay, so let me see if I get this, okay? Because this was huge information. So
big.
If I buy resale after January 19th, I buy my DVC through the resale market, right?
Mm-hmm.
After January 19th, I buy into Saratoga Springs. I like Saratoga Springs. I'm going to buy into Saratoga Springs.
It's a great choice, Bob.
Love it.
Wise choice.
Horses.
I can only use those for those 14 other resorts. So, Old Key West, Holly, Beach Club, all of those. I can use those. The only ones I can't use those in are Riviera, Reflections, and then any other resorts that they put on. Correct?
Right.
Including, and I can't use it. I can't use it because this happened prior to that. I can't use it at the Disneyland or the Disney Collection. Okay.
Or Cruise Line or Adventures by Disney.
Right. Now, if I say, well, I don't want to do that. I want to buy Riviera because that's I want to be at Riviera or I want to be at Reflections, and I buy those.
Or Project X, which is the next one coming up. Whatever.
Or
anything
Project
from now
X.
forward. Yeah.
Through the resale market.
Right.
After the 19th. I want to buy Riviera or Reflections or whatever else. I can only use my points at that resort that I buy into. I can't use it anywhere else now.
Yeah, you're essentially locked. You're locked
resale.
in.
Yep.
I'm locked into just that one resort.
Right.
Wow.
Now, let's keep in mind though that is not officially confirmed information, that last part, and my thought is that it might change depending on how those sales go and whether or not there's a whole second pool of resorts. So I don't want to speculate any more than they've already speculated.
Sure.
But it is possible that, say, they will create a second version of Buena Vista Trading Company, like Bay Lake Trading Company or something like that.
That's Buena Vista, you're right.
Right, or Kissimmee. Well, they use all kinds of names. So, I mean, they might create a second one where they put in all these newer resorts and have them have like sort of their own internal trading company as well. But yes, you've got, from what we have, the information we have in this article, you've got it right.
Okay, so the way to avoid all of this is I buy direct from Disney, not on the resale market. I buy direct from Disney, which is going to cost me more money.
Right.
Direct from Disney, and it's still pretty much a free for all. I can stay wherever I want, use my points any I want to.
And you can buy any of the existing resorts direct from Disney, as well as the new resorts as they come out.
Right.
Okay.
And you could also purchase resale in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
I know this is fresh. This is why we're doing this so quick, and we don't have all the information just yet. But here's my question: what about those folks? And I know you guys are some of them actually, where you bought direct from Disney, and now, I mean, obviously you guys did this prior to January 19th. But what about those folks that are going to buy? They already have some from Disney, and they're like, we need to add a few more points, and they buy those from the resale market.
Bingo.
Any idea how that's going to play out?
Yeah.
So only my understanding is only, at least this is consistent with all the other sort of changes they've made, only your new resale points will be restricted. So say you do have like a chunk of, like we have a chunk of Saratoga, a chunk of Grand Floridian. Say we did, luckily, thank goodness, purchase a chunk last year for Grand, but say we hadn't, say we're purchasing it in February for some reason, we wouldn't be able to use that chunk for Riviera. We wouldn't be able to use that chunk for Reflections. We could still use our direct or our pre-2019 points for those resorts. Does that make sense?
Yes. So how do you guys feel about this?
Yeah, I was about to say, can I just go on a little tangent here for a minute?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I think that's why we're here tonight. I have a lot of thoughts. I think, I'll let people take the negative aspect, but I just want to inject the reality of it. When we purchased our contracts, we purchased nothing more than what existed at the time that we purchased our contracts. If you purchase DVC based on the fact that maybe they're going to build something, that's not a good reason, because Reflections could fall into the water tomorrow. Riviera could have a massive construction delay. It could be completely derailed. You can't purchase any of these real estate interests with really any mindset other than that you're going to get the home resort that you purchased into. So if I purchase at Grand Floridian, I can stay at Grand Floridian, and that's really all I should consider myself guaranteed. And even then it's subject to all these, rules. So I think I just want to sort of set that stage. If people are getting panicky and saying this is so terrible, I just want people to remember that you can't buy something that doesn't exist yet. And that's what when you purchase, you purchase at the terms that are available and the property that's available at the time you purchased. And at the time that any of us purchased at this point, Riviera did not exist and does not exist. And same thing with Reflections. And that said, I will turn it over to you guys.
Well, if you don't mind me, I'm just going to add one thing to it here, Joe, or, if you want to go next, but I just want to add this one thing. Because I can definitely relate to what you're saying on a very personal level, in that when I bought, I'm kind of the grandfather here as far as owning my contracts. I've owned my first contract I bought in 2007. I bought for Saratoga Springs before it was done. But I was a Disneyland guy, and they sold it to me while I was at Disneyland, in downtown Disneyland. I went in for a meeting, and at that time the next one they were going to build was the villas at the Grand Californian. So we'd finally have DVC in Disneyland. Now the conversation at the time was, this is just the first resort. There are no plans yet to build other resorts, but of course they're going, kind of thing. But they're going to, kind of thing, right? So literally, when I'm buying them, part of my thinking is, well, listen, we go to Disneyland. We don't go to Disney World. It's too far away. It's too expensive. Disneyland's close. But eventually they're going to add more resorts, so I can still go to Disney World once in a while, and then they'll have new resorts at Disneyland. It wasn't the only reason I bought my point, and you made a great point, Emily. Too many times people are buying things with a very narrow vision of how they're going to use it. And listen, if you're buying DVC with a very limited window and a narrow, and we're going to talk about more of about this in a minute, you're putting yourself into danger. There's no guarantee how things are going to work out. That these things are fluid things to this. So they've never built another DVC resort, but now I go to Disney World a lot, so it worked out. So,
yes, we got you over here.
Yeah, I'm still at Disneyland first, but
right,
I don't get to go there as much. So
they don't run as much over there anymore.
No, they don't. Oh.
Well,
I will.
Go ahead, Brett. No, go ahead, Brett.
And earlier I had said I was going to, in fact, the guys we had talked before the podcast, and they said, yeah, go ahead and share that. But honestly, now that after you shared, I realized I had my wires crossed. I was under the impression with the posts that I was reading that they were saying that after January 19th, anyone who buys aftermarket points would be limited to that resort.
Oh, like if you had...
so if I bought Animal Kingdom, I could only go to Animal Kingdom.
Right.
No, that just is the way I'm reading it. That's just for Riviera and Reflections.
Correct. So the older points, I was saying, this is going to really hurt the after resale market for those who have the older resorts, because suddenly they're not going to be very valuable. I'm going to recant that a little bit. I think it's still going to have an impact, because one of the things that was always a selling point when I would talk to people about buying DVC, I'm not a salesman, but I would tell them, one of the selling points to me was I had owned other timeshares, and I couldn't give those things away. I mean, I literally had to walk away from timeshares because you can't sell them. Once you buy them, if you're not going to use them, you just flush it down the toilet. You're not getting it back. And you may have to deal with legal issues just trying to get rid of it. With Disney, it's like one of the only ones out there that you can turn around. That's literally the only one that I know of that you can sell it with real value after you own it. I can sell my points, and we've talked about this in the past. Right now, I bought 11 years ago. I could sell my points today for more than I paid for them 11 years ago. It's actually increased in value. That is if I sell before the 19th. So it may change, but so it's always been a value. It's definitely going to make it trickier because it's limited. But here's the thing. Depending upon how they handle these newer resorts, if for some reason Riviera starts to limit what you can do with what you buy from them or the next resort, if they're not careful, our points will be worth more than their points.
That's what I was thinking.
The top 14 resorts, and I'm not knocking, the new ones will be beautiful, but the property that's next to the parks, the property that's prime real estate, the properties that are in the hub of everything, they're already built.
Now, Brad, I wonder if they're going to divide us into the quote-unquote, I'm coming up with this term, the legacy resorts, which are the original 14, and then the newer ones. And if the newer ones, are they going to be individual now? So they can say, for example, okay, Riviera, their points, the resale points are only for Riviera. Then Reflections, the resale points are only for Riviera. Because if that's the case,
they're going to have tough time selling points. Because
they're going to have tough time selling those points, because you're going to sell somebody – you got to sell somebody directly to Disney. Like, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to walk into a DVC guide and be like, hey, I'm interested in Riviera. Okay, great. And then it's like, oh, yeah, but if you want – now, I'm sure Disney won't tell you this, but I'm sure in years past, you could resell them. What are you going to say? Oh, I can only resell to somebody that can only stay here? That ruins that value.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, if anything, I agree with you. I agree with you guys that, like, our resale points, because you have essentially a catalog to choose from. So this is the first steps in Disney, because I'm sure as contracts expire now, they're gonna probably end up doing this. They're not gonna do the renewals like they did at Old Key West and stuff like that. They're gonna start doing individual resorts only. They're gonna essentially kill resales they're gonna kill resale market contracts and trading to go to other resorts. And essentially it's going to be essentially legacy. How am I describe this? Eventually they're going to knock it off one by one, where it's going to be like, you can only stay here now, you can only stay here now, and that's it. And only places you could trade to are contracts directly from Disney. So I mean, it's a giant mess, and it's actually going to
this is like a dig.
And this is, we've always been people on this show where I've been selling DVC, to people saying it's a great investment, and it still is a great investment. I think it's still.
Let's be clear. We're not actually.
I don't say, but like the idea. But like, for an example, Tim and Bob. There's, I was talking with Brittany and Justin. You guys all know them, and like, I sent them this article, and they still have been waiting to buy whatever. And they said they might not do it anymore because of this announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they're not going to be the only ones that are going to be turned off by this. Now, luckily, we're all grandfathered in, which is great. But like, there's going to be a whole other generation of people who are going to be like, you know what, I'm not doing this. I'll just rent points. Eventually, that's going to be even tough to do. So this is going to cause a lot of I tell you, they're really drawing the line in the sand. This is not just taking away some fireworks viewing. Or taking away maybe a little discount. This is legitimately like trading your properties. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that, like, when we all bought, you buy your home resort, and we always said this: buy where you want to stay, because you're not guaranteed to stay somewhere else. But it's kind of like when you buy into a community, and you buy into a community where they've got a clubhouse and a golf course and all the other amenities there.
And now you can only use the golf course.
And that, well, not even that.
On this side of the street.
You have your house, but like the golf course closes or the pool closes, and you can't use any of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
still open.
It's still open, but you can't use it now. So it's the same thing. And this is just, I mean, this is a really, like, I mean, I know it's, we're geeking out over here, but this is a big deal. This is a huge line in the sand that Disney's drawing, and you're only going to see this get bigger, because I really think they're going to start picking off resorts one by one, where they're not going to do contract extensions anymore. Once those contracts run out, they're going to resell those points, and they're going to be like, resales will only be for that resort. That's what I think. It just makes sense.
The thing you're triggering here for me, Joe, is that what they're doing is they're fundamentally changing that sort of the nature of the product, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, totally.
Because they always sell it as the new model, the points-based timeshare, where you can exchange it for all the different resorts, and then of course Marriott, I think, and Wyndham. I think they said that Disney was the first one. I can't remember.
They were.
Yeah, so this is a model that they developed, that they sold, that they advertise it as, like, that this is like sort of this fluid vacation without worry, like perpetual different types of vacations. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, no. Well, for some people, yes. But, like, unless you, like, what is your route otherwise? As an owner, what is your route to get your value from your resale then? You have to sell it back to Disney? That's not really an option.
Now, Emily, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? I know you're an attorney and stuff like that, but, like, is there a thing where you're, like, essentially discriminating against another type of owner? Either you own it or you don't own it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I still get confused with. Like, either you own the points or you don't own the points. What's the difference where you got it from? You know what I'm saying? Like if you buy a house on foreclosure from a bank, what's the difference if you bought it from a builder? You still own the house. I mean, it goes back to that old argument we had a long time ago when they started taking away, perks. And that really, maybe we just didn't look that much into it. But, like, is this coming from, like, the condominium associations, like, or where is this, like, where is it where they're like, can the owners bind together and be like, no, we don't want to do this? I mean, like.
So that's it's funny because we sign away our proxy votes to the DVC.
You could show up to the meeting.
It's not only that, though. I did just dig through. I can't find the original agreement, but I did, and I just want to put a disclaimer out here that I'm not licensed in Florida, and I'm not making any legal representations, and I don't understand Florida condominium law more than any other layperson with some legal background. But I did look through here, and every single thing from our 2013 purchase says things like the Top of the World Lounge and observation area are not part of the timeshare plan. Limited access is available, and it may be terminated without notice. And then it says purchasers should not rely on the continued existence or access to Auntie's Beach House, restaurants, or recreational facilities that are not part of membership. Theoretically, that means they could, like, take away the pool at Alani. Purchasers should not rely on the continuing existence of Animal Kingdom Lodge amenities such as savannas, restaurants, and recreational facilities. So if you read the back page of any of these, and it's not even in really
they could take the animals away, essentially.
Because you could literally, it could be just like a big, they could just, like, vacate the savannas and put another resort there, and so really you have to be cognizant of that when you're deciding whether or not this is a good idea. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish what your thought was.
Oh, I was going to say the other thing is that the way if I recall correctly, and I'm sure we'll have people write in, and I hope we do, that correct me. If I recall correctly, the way it sort of works out is what I mentioned earlier, where you actually own your resort. You own a piece of a condo association. So I own, like, a little slice of Grand Floridian. I own, like, a portion of a room in Grand Floridian. And then Grand Floridian has a condo association that I'm then a part of. That condo association then participates in sort of an exchange program with an exchange entity, and that exchange entity facilitates it. Now, we do it really seamlessly on our website now, or through the phone or whatever. But really, essentially what we're doing is we are trading points with other resorts, trading rooms with other resorts, slices of rooms. And that's why you get the breakage. There's all kinds of other little things that we think are sort of annoying nuances of the program, but they actually exist because this is a real estate interest. So without getting super boring, I think that really, they can do a lot. And we agreed to that when we purchased. And so I don't know.
Did that make sense, Joe?
No, no, yeah.
That's actually what I was going to point out. But you said it way better than I did, Emily. But I years ago, when I actually looked into this because of another issue that was going on, and that's almost, verbatim what they describe. When you buy, you don't buy points that are used in multiple resorts. That's why you have a home resort. You buy at a resort. That's right. And then the rest of it is just a perk that can be there or can be taken away. And the reality is. But here's the thing. And can I just I'll do my final rant and then I'll be done. I'll let you guys
go for it.
I hear what you're saying, Joe, as far as what's going to come down the pike. But I have to believe that that's not going to, because what we're doing is we're seeing A and B, and we're trying to figure out what Z is going to look like. And I have to believe that Disney and DVC, their number one money mongering, one of their top money grabbing divisions in all of Disney, is not going to lose their minds and suddenly completely dismember what they've worked so hard to build. This has completely redefined timeshares. The way they've approached in other industries and other companies, they're emulating them. If they were to suddenly go and say, from now on, if you buy points, you can only go to one resort. They basically created the exact old DVC model where you buy it and you'll never get rid of it because it'll just completely destroy the model. Now, I can see them trying to do these things to try to eliminate the resale market, because I don't know if it's because they're, like was mentioned earlier, maybe they're not having enough sales. That could be, or it could just be the true nature of Disney, which is we want more money. I know we've got billions, but we want more. There's more to grab. So they're going after that money that they're not getting. But either way, I just have to believe they're not going to change the model too drastically, because the more they change it, the more they're going to end up becoming just like buying that timeshare that you went on the free cruise and had to listen through and you bought, and 4 years later you could shoot yourself for doing it.
But Brad, let me ask you a question. I don't have the numbers to back this up. I will admit I don't have the research on this, but I've said this before on the show. Do you think that there's still rooms at Alani left? There's still rooms at Copper Creek that are left, right? Riviera's almost done. They've got Reflections planned. Do you think they're like, yo, we still got like inventory we got to get rid of? And the resale market is that good? I'm sure they watch the numbers. They see what contracts come in and out and the right of refusals. They see everything that goes, any resale contract they see, because it goes to the right of first refusal. Do you think they're trying to put the brakes on this? They're trying to
I think you're nailing it down. That's exactly it.
They're like, we got to stop this.
Back. Yeah. So what they're doing? I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your thought.
No, I'm just saying that they're like, we got inventory. So Alani was built how many years ago? They still got inventory out there. Copper Creek, I think they thought it would have sold faster than what it did, and it didn't. And it's a great resort, but there's still inventory there, and then they're building this giant Riviera resort. And then you've got Reflections that I'm sure they're going to start breaking ground on soon if they haven't done it already, And the thing is, and the DVC sales are always coupled into the theme park revenues. Right. That's what Len Test always says, that goes into that pot. So they want to keep that thing going. So they're really trying to put the kibosh on resale. I'm sure resales are doing that well. They're like, we need to put and this is a huge strain on perks. This is the ultimate strain on a perk to trade to go to a different resort. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm thinking. That they're still.
Yeah. And I think you're dead on. But for a reason that you may not see, and I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. But see, I believe you're exactly right. I think they're putting the kibosh on resale, and here's the reason why. They're starting to reach saturation. Yes, they can build more resorts, but every time they build a new resort now, it's going to be farther from the parks. It's not going to have quite the mystique that the ones that are there. Yep. And the ones that they're building, the sales are slowing down. So how do you increase sales? Well, you get more of the points in the existing quality of the legacy resorts back in your pocket, so that you can sell them at full price again to new clients. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to say, if you buy from a resale, you're going to get squat. So you're going to need to sell. So people are going to sell their points back to Disney. Now Disney's coffers are going to grow with old legacy points that they can now sell and say, but listen, if you buy direct from us, oh no, you can still stay at all.
Stay wherever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you buy it from us. Yeah. And that's what I think. I think they're reaching saturation. And so there's another way to grow this business. Get back the points that are out there being sold with the resorts that are already there.
But here's the question. Here's the question I have for you about that. How are they going to get those points back? Because as of now, the only way you're really going to do that is as a deed in lieu of foreclosure kind of thing. I think you have to call Disney and express that you're in some kind of distress. I don't think, it's an option just to cash them back in at any time.
I think now that's the place where I think they will restructure. They'll create their own resale market. If they put the other companies out of business and they're not getting offers.
Wow, and I never thought about that, Brad. It's like you have their own.
Sure. Or people will still be going to DVCresales.com and they'll try to sell it, and the price will be so low that Disney will go offer it because the prices are dropping.
It's like walking into a car dealership. You can either buy the brand new model or you can buy the used one.
They'll buy it used. They'll buy it used. And so think of it this way. They go to DVC resales. Now instead of getting $100 a point for Saratoga Springs, you're getting $50 a point if somebody else will buy it. And Disney goes, yeah, we'll pay. We'll offer that. We'll pay that. So then the people can't buy it, and you can't get more than it on the open market. Now Disney gets it back at half price, turns right back around, and they've increased their coffers.
You do have a good point. They can take them back through right of first refusal.
Sure.
So they could.
And when that dries up, they would just change the model. They would just create their own DVC resales.
Now, I will say though, our recent experience in 2018, we purchased an add-on at Grand Floridian. We actually reached out to Disney first, to our guide, and said, can we'd like this many points approximately, this is what we want. And we decided that the value was so slim between the long-term value of the resale versus direct. I think I told you guys all about that, so I won't belabor that. But we first went through Disney, and they didn't have the points value available right then because they weren't actively trying to sell Grand, because they're trying to actively sell the new resorts. So that was sort of their approach back then. They did eventually come up with the points, but it was after we found them on the resale market. Mm-hmm. So we were basically going for speed rather than, price per se on that one, because I figured the dollar amount. Now I think they still have a pretty killer deal out there for Copper Creek. So if you're hearing this in time, go snag some. And if I was, if I was in the market for a beautiful cabin.
And that's a nice resort.
Oh, it's so gorgeous. But I guess my point is, they weren't acting like they weren't acting super aggressive about those resale points back when I was looking to try to buy some Grand Floridian. They weren't sitting on a pile of them. And maybe that's because they don't want to maintain that inventory. But you'd think that they could be maintain some inventory and then tell you within a couple of months we'll get it for you.
Well, we know this is the first shot across the bow. Now we'll see what it really leads to next.
I can't wait to see. I would love to get statistics on what they're leaking this rumor out there. They can confirm it or not. Resale sales from a couple of the major companies. Yeah. I mean, if you've got a contract out there and it's a decent, I would not be surprised that they'll be pushing contracts from before that date.
Right.
People are hanging on the fence I'm telling you, it's get on it.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the Christmas shopping in January. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I think that, but it's making it harder and harder for us. And I say the word sell. We're not really selling it, but to be very pro DVC. Granted, still a place to stay. and you are still getting a good value. I just pay my dues, and for what I pay for a year, I mean, for the places I stay, it's amazing. But all of the other perks that we talk about all the time, when we say perks that can always be removed, it's kind of being like, and especially somebody who's not in the Disney verse, that's not like, die hard. It's be like, yeah, you really can't stay there though. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to explain to them. Like, oh, you can just stay. It's going to be very confusing. I wonder what the website would look like if you have points with post contracts or everything to be highlighted in different colors. I feel bad for the people that are working the phones. Everybody's calling up and like, with these points, can I use them now? Or it's just going to be a mess with their.
Can I tell you as a travel planner, selling Disney free dining? I think two gentlemen on the show can understand what I'm talking about. Can you imagine the Disney site on DVC crashing constantly when people are trying to figure this out?
My God.
Oh my gosh, it's going to get crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this for me. I think the one thing we can all agree on, right, is that what's now been taken off the table is anything that we could ever encourage. Nobody should be buying. The only advice we can give you, if one of the reasons you were buying into DVC into January, going into February, was the fact that, well, at least with this one, I could always turn around and sell it. Take that off the table.
Right. And buy where you want to stay, Brad.
Buy where you want to stay.
If you're not going to buy from Disney, if you can only afford resale, buy where you want to stay and be like, this is, and if you're buying Legacy, which I'm quoting and copywriting that, Resort Loop 2019, the Legacy resorts, all right? Be prepared that, that's where you're going to stay and be okay with that. So when these new ones go up, don't be jealous. I can't trade there. It is what it is.
And I have to tell you, I was really looking. I was actually considering the possibility, because now that my kids are older and with my situation has kind of changed as far as I still go to Disney, but the way that I go is different. I was considering selling my points. I really was. I will not be selling my points. They will be deeded to my children until the contracts are dead. Because I have a contract and I have a second contract, but I bought the second contract and it's grandfathered in where I can still use it for anything, just like regular points.
You'd be nuts to sell it now, Brad.
I would absolutely be nuts because I'd lose.
If you're going to go at least every couple of years, you must just bank the point.
Sell them, rent them. I can rent them for more than I pay for my dues now. I already do that. So, and give them to my kids.
Could that be part of the reason why they're doing this? Is to force people to hang on to them instead of throwing them out there on the resale market?
Possibly, but it's hard to say. Until we see what the next shot is across the bow, how they're going to really handle it.
Yeah. The other thing, Brad, you just made a good point that I was thinking about earlier and forgot to mention. There is a way to do all this. There is a way for these people to exchange points. It is through booking reservations for each other, through rental.
That business is still fine. Booming.
Yeah, and so if you get like the second round of resale points, all you have to do is find a friend or somebody you at least trust enough to go through a transaction, or a broker that's willing to broker it, and make reservations for each other or rent them to each other. You know what I mean? Like, this is not like you can't use your points.
That's a lot of work, though, and you need to have friends. A lot of work.
Yeah. But honestly, I do it every year but I use a broker. And it's as easy as you can imagine. It's simple.
That's how Rebecca and Tara and all these other people are staying at these resorts. They're renting, and a DVC member can do the exact same thing. Yeah. You can
I go onto the broker site. This is how simple it is. I go into the broker site. I tell them how many points I'm going to make available to rent, which resorts, and what and they'll actually look and figure out when they could be used effectively, and then they simply contact me to say, we have a contract that would use this many points, and if you're interested, reply. And if I don't reply within the first 2 hours, it's usually rented out, and usually within the first 3 days I've rented out all the points I put up.
Wow. Let me ask you this then,
I get a check.
Since you do this, let me ask you this. Let's say I decide I'm on the resale market after the 19th of January. I'm going to buy into Riviera. Now I decide, same thing as you. Okay, I'm not going to go for a couple of years. I'm going to see if the rental companies want to buy my points. Are those points going to be less because those points can only be used at Riviera?
No, I'm just going to go out. Who can tell? I would say no, but here's the thing: they can only be used for Riviera because you give them the points, and then they just look through their system of who's wanting to stay where, whether they hit the 7-month or 11-month window. it would be slower because it could only be a client wanting to go to Riviera.
Right.
But there's going to be clients wanting to go to Riviera. So they'll still rent, and I'm sure it'll probably be still the same price. So.
And also, a thing to keep in mind is those specific reservations. Like, first of all, in that scenario, I just want to point out, Bob, if you bought the Riviera points direct and you were renting out your points, you could still use them for the resorts.
Well, no, I was saying on the resale market.
If you had sold, right, okay, so you had sold them, so you're the second owner of the Riviera points.
Right, and you can still rent them out as long as they're staying at Riviera.
Right, but as Brad knows, a specific resort reservation, like at the 11-month window, actually takes a premium. So the rental, like if you said, I have Riviera points, the broker's going to find somebody who wants to book Riviera at like 11 or 10 months, and they're actually going to charge that person a premium for using those during your window.
Right now, if you own a Grand Californian in Disneyland, or if you own, is Grand Floridian got the premium?
They do.
There's like 3 resorts that they actually pay you more per dollar if you're renting their points to them because they can rent them out for more. Because you can't get into those resorts at the 7-month window.
So honestly, this may just fuel the secondary trading market, the rental market, even more so than the resale market. Yeah. It may just fuel the rental market, and one of the weird unintended consequences may be that there's just tons of renters or even owners that are then renters when they want to go somewhere else. But I have to say, just sort of going back to my original point, if the only resort I stayed at for the rest of my life at Disney was Grand Floridian, I would not be a sad person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all these resorts are beautiful and unique, and unless you bought at a resort you've never intended to stay at, and you bought it as like a placeholder, I know people talk about doing that with some of the older or less, like at the point value is lower. But like, say you bought it like Vero, and you never planned to stay at Vero, but the points were low value, and Vero's beautiful. I have never been there, guys, but I know that people love it. So I'm not ragging on Vero, but it does have one of the cheapest prices. So say you bought it at Vero and you think you're going to stay at Disney World all the time, and they restrict it and you can only ever stay at Vero, which is not what they're saying they're going to do. But let's just say they did. You can either rent or sell those points, but you just kind of shouldn't make that decision. I would just advise against that for what it's worth. Don't buy a contract for a resort you don't like.
Yeah, you guys have always said that. Buy the resort you like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is a side story, and we'll save it for another time. But this last month, because I've always had a little bit different view than some of the other folks on the show as far as how hard it is to book rooms at the 7-month window. So for the past month, I have been getting on, not every day, but every other couple of days I'll get on all through basically put those 7th month going in through the summer, in those summer months. And basically there was only maybe 3 resorts that I couldn't book at the 7-month window, a studio and the resort. Every resort was, the only ones that you couldn't was Grand Californian, Beach Club, but I could always get one at Grand Floridian. On every day at 7 month, I could do it, and I wouldn't do it first thing in the morning. I would wait till the end of the day to give it a full day, or I'd look to see, a couple of days in advance. So now, you can, even if you have the points, if you get on there and you look, and that was in the busy time. So if you went slower times, you'd be more available. So the good news is there's still a lot available at 7 months. You just got to be flexible. You know what I mean? You may not get the one with the park view, but
That's true, and especially
other than a certain resorts, and you better buy. And I do recommend, you're going to stay at Grand Floridian. That one's hard. It's not impossible. It's hard. Buy that one direct. Buy Beach Club direct so you can get the 11-month. And Grand Californian and Disneyland, good luck buying it. Those points are ridiculous. My gosh, the used aftermarket is crazy. So,
and I think some of the rooms, like a 3-bedroom or Grand Villa.
Yeah,
I think those go quickly too.
Yeah, because they're limited. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the other thing I was going to say. Like the Animal Kingdom concierge rooms. Yeah, no, they're gone. Rarely did I ever see a concierge room for a week. I know these looks that I was doing. I was always doing a week-long stay with the weekend and the weekdays. And a concierge room, because they're limited, they're gone. Anything that's a limited.
Brad, you said something very interesting early in the show. I'm going to leave you guys with this to ponder. You said that Disney's model is the industry standard, or what the industry should be looking at, because the rest of the industry you can barely give these things away because of the way they run the things. Keep in mind, when Disney started charging for parking, they said we are now just falling in line with industry standards. So I'm going to leave you with that.
Boom.
I hope that's not the hope that's not the case here. But Brad's got to get to an airplane.
Well, did we want to real quick talk about the other thing?
We'll talk. We'll save that for the next show.
Okay, that'll work.
Save that for the next show because you got to go.
Are you back? I got to strap. Yes, I am.
You got to go.
My wings up. Hey, the good news is my wife's not home, so I'm not in a hurry. When she comes in, I hear her voice screaming, going, "Are you ready?"
Okay. She sounds like an angel. That's not really like what she... And all you Rocketeers, good luck. We are cheering for you. We're rooting for you.
Thank you.
Super excited.
See you in a couple days, Joe.
That's right, man.
Run, Looper, run.
And do we have a meet? Do we have a Rocketeer meet?
Yes. I don't know if this is going to be out before then, but we're looking at meeting at the Wave on Friday at 3 p.m. down in the lounge area.
I'll be missing it.
Tim, that is all I've got for the Roundtable on this special edition.
Guys, thank you very much. I think we're just kind of waiting for another hammer to drop. I think something else is going to happen.
It will.
And it's going to be exciting. Emily, where can people find you?
People can find me.
Yes?
Okay.
Can we?
Well then.
Are you sure?
Oh dear, I lost you guys. So you can find me. Here's Looper Nation Live, Resort Loop Rocketeers, and anywhere Disney merchandise is sold.
Awesome, Brad. Besides an airplane, where can people find you?
Who?
Is that me or you, Brad?
I couldn't hear him.
Brad.
Let's go.
Brad, where are you going?
Okay. I'm going to follow after Emily. If you're looking for me, you can find me. Dramatic pause.
In the bushes.
Papa Mouse 1 on Twitter, Papa Mouse 101 at hotmail.com if you need to get a hold of me. Any questions? Always love talking Disney. Hanging out with the Diz Dads on their forum and in their website, sometimes on the podcast, but especially you can find me at Disney World this week. Look me up, chat me, Facebook me, and let's see if we can get together.
Love it. How about Joe? Joe, where can people find you?
Sure, Tim. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Quad, Instagram, also over at the Mickey Dudes podcast, and also we sit down in Walt Disney World for 2019 Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend, presented by Cigna. So we'll be over at the Contemporary Resort on Friday at 3. So hit up myself at Joe Quad on Twitter, QUATT is the last name, or Brad or Rebecca Toon. Let us know you're coming over, and we'll be over there. If not, we'll see you out in the parks.
Awesome. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Tim Scott, Facebook, the website, ResortLoop.com. If you're thinking of booking a trip, check us out over at ResortLoopTravel.com.
Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. And what else should folks do, Tim?
Everyone, please go out there and share this whole thing, the gateway to the magic, as I wave my arms.
See you, everybody.
Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.